Hey guys, how's it going? Brandon here from Dude Man Games. I know it's been a while since I made a video, so I thought I'd get on here and make a video. I've been busy making a few different games. I got 2 in the pipeline right now, but I thought I'd do this tutorial on how to control objects and the way that they come into the scene. So I developed this because I have this game Talons where you're a bird of prey and you're flying around, and I wanted to have control over when the trees came out and what trees came out, but still make it an endless game. So this is how you do that. So the first thing you need to do is go into the scene and wrap the X so that when the objects come off this side, they pop onto this side. And we're going to also change the size of the scene to 1136 so that it's just double the size, and we're gonna move the camera into the middle just so that it's easier, or close to the middle. Okay, so now when the objects come off here, they have some room, because you have to leave enough room for the object to actually have enough space outside of the screen before you put it back to its starting point. So let's go back to our area here, and so we're going to need to make 4. I'm going to make 4 actors. So we're going to have one that's just going to be the testing text. And so then the first actor we're going to need is the objects. And we're going to need something to control this whole system. So I've been calling it object order, and so we'll change this to like a lime green color here. Alright, so first thing that we're going to want to do, actually we need to go back out of here and go into our scene, and we need a few attributes. So we're going to need 3 integers. Okay, and the first one is going to be the number that's going to control everything, so we'll just call this object order. So this is our actual number that's going to tell them when to come out. And so this whole thing is going to be controlled with the table. So we're going to need our objects row and our objects column. And I'm going to start them both off at 1, so it just starts in the top corner. So now we're going to go to our tables and make a new table. And we'll call this object order. Okay, and in here, so what we're going to want to do is we need, on the rows, every row is going to equal 10 seconds. It'll make sense later, but so let's do 100 on the columns, and on rows let's just start with 20. Should be enough. Actually, let's just do 10. Okay, and now I don't want to go in and actually have to do all that, so I'm going to export this to the desktop real quick and call it test, and and let's bring it all back in and test, open, and now let's just pick them all as integers, so they all a bunch of zeros. Okay, so back in our scene, so our object order, how we're going to control this is I use a rule that has the mod 1 timer rule. If you guys don't know what it is, you can look on the forums, but I'm going to use a timer for this. And we're going to say every 0.1 seconds we want to change attribute, and we're going to change that object order, game object order, and we're going to say to table cell value, and we're going to use our table, and then for the row we're going to use our object row, and for the column we're going to use object column. So basically every 0.1 seconds, it's going to take whatever this number is and whatever this number is and pull the table cell value from this table. Alright. And I'll go ahead and check run to completion. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to make another timer. And we're going to say every 0.1 seconds, run to completion. And we're going to change attribute. And this time we're going to change game object column to object column +1. Alright. And then since we only have 100 columns, we need to make another rule that says when attribute game object column is equal or greater than 100, we're going to reset it back to 1. Change it back to 1. Alright, so now it's going to go through every tenth of a second. It's going to go through each one of those numbers, and when it gets to 100, it's going to jump down to the next one. And so then, since we only have 10, we're going to create another rule. And we're going to say when game object row is equal or greater than 10, we're going to change attribute game object row back to 1. So then it'll start over at the beginning. And you could create another table that has values of where it starts and ends so that you could change the difficulty as they go through and make it loop two rows over and over and over again until they do it 3 times, and then it adds one to changes the numbers of the row to where it loops back now to 5 and goes through to 10. Instead of going through 1 to 5, it'll go from 5 to 10 now. And then after they play that 5 times, if they make it that far, then it can go from 10 to 15. So you can change it in that way as well. Alright, so let's get back out of here. And we're going to go into our the object rules. So for this thing, this is going to actually be the resetter. So let's just make this red. And it doesn't need any rules, so we're going to put this out here. And basically I'm putting it in a way that when it collides with it, I'm going to snap it back to its starting position right here. But to start, it can't be overlapping it, so I need there to be enough room for both of the sizes of boxes so that it can go outside here and still have room, and then when it touches this, it goes back over to here, and it still is not touching this. That way it'll still fire when its number gets called. So the objects, let's make the default one orange. So we're going to need an attribute right away, and it's going to be real. And we're just going to keep track of our start X position. And so the very first thing that we're going to do when this actor is there is we're going to change self start X to our position. Self position X. Okay. So then we're going to create a rule, and we're going to say when object order, the number that keeps changing, equals, oh, forgot to make the other one. We also need another attribute. This one could just be an integer or an index. And this we'll call it my ID. So we'll default it to 1. And so when object order equals self my ID, then we're going to tell it to go. That's when it's going to call its thing. So it'll do a change velocity 180, speed 300, sure. Alright, and then we're going to need to create a rule to reset it back to its position. So we're going to say when attribute, when actor overlaps or collides with the resetter, it's going to change attribute, self position X. First, let's stop it. Objects, self, motion, linear velocity X to 0. And let's also change self position X to self start X. So now it goes back to its starting position. Alright. So in this, let's put a few objects out here and give them some different IDs. Just put one out here. And we're going to take our object order rule, put that out here, and so that's pretty much it. That's all you really got to do with it. Now I made one earlier, and all it really has different that I did was I just made a bunch of different boxes here with some different colors and shapes, and I gave them all their own IDs. So now we can go into the tables, and so you see I set 1 right there. So since every one of these boxes equals 1/10 of a second, and since there's 100 in each row, so this is the first 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, all the way up. So let's go ahead and put some in here. Let's do a 4 and a 2 and a 7. Let's do a 3 and let's do a 1 again. Let's do a 5 and a 6 and 4. I don't know, that's the first up to 6.8 seconds. So, alright, and let's try it out. So as you see, you can really control exactly when they all come out. So these numbers up here, this is the row number, this is the current object number, so this is the number that is controlling when the object comes out. This is the row number and the column number. And as you can see, when it gets to 100, it just jumps down to the next row. So you can plan out your levels better on paper, and then that way, when you get in to build the game, you're just putting the numbers in the table, and you can have an endless game that really has a lot of variety. With only having 7 pieces, you can really get a lot of variety out of it. So anyway, that's how you control the place that objects come out in a endless game. Cool. Thanks. Bye.